Welcome in. It's the Awesemo Betting Show on the Awesemo Odds channel. We appreciate you rolling with us. We have a lot to get into, from what went right, what went wrong on Thursday Night Football. And Thursday night is not just for the NFL, as we had a pretty big college hit on this program. And we've got college football Friday, college football Saturday, gigantic NFL day on Sunday. Some news that comes out. Nick Chubb is out, a trade for the Arizona Cardinals. Myself, Ben Rasa, Tyler is producing, BetMGM is providing all the odds, and you in the chat are going to tell us to lock it up, your favorite, most confident bet of the night, of the weekend, whatever it may be in any sport. All right, Rasa, I think we had a pretty good night overall last night when it came to Thursday Night Football in the NFL. If we add in your gigantic college play, then we were up units. I know that after last night.
Yeah, I don't know about gigantic, but I will take it. That was my lock it up yesterday. The old Jaguars, South Alabama went just biblical, and that's what I like to see. It was far from perfect. Jalen Reagor, let's start there. Got to give credit. I was on one side, you were on the other. He finished with the same amount of yards as I had last night, which is not good for his stat line. He did draw a couple pass interferences, but
huge.
That was one. But overall, I think you and me, I'm pretty content with it. I'm not going to lie. I thought we saw a game that was a little back and forth, but it presented some good opportunities live with the total. I know you were looking at that at points. And on the player prop side, again, far from perfect, but it was enough to set the table. And then South Alabama, that was a nice smooth sailing one.
So a couple of things from the player prop last night element of it. And look, Jalen Reagor, I hate to use the L word, but I got lucky. And I'll take it, because it was not one, but two PI calls that would have surely put him over that 40.5 receiving yards. But I also knew he was going to be targeted. I mean, the guy was targeted 5 times before in the previous week in Carolina. He just only got 24 yards. So we'll see what happens moving forward. A couple of days extra off for the Eagles. We'll see if Jalen Reagor's number gets adjusted moving forward. But we both have, I think, vested interest in him in that prop. How about Brady? I got to give a shout to Kevin Bloomfield, who came on here and told us to lock up that Brady interception. I got in at a half a rushing yard, and it was only going to be a half a rushing yard earlier in the week on Tuesday, because I knew once it went to 1.5. But you were right. You accurately, we had somebody else in the chat bring up, what about over 1.5? We talked about over 1.5 rushing yards for Brady, and you called it with your crystal ball about how you can just get burned in the rear by the quarterback kneeling. He actually moved ahead and then knelt on the final play, and I think that gave him that final yard. But still, you're playing with fire even at 1.5 rushing yards.
Definitely playing with fire with those. And we saw that late in the game. I mean, there was a lot on the line there where it was whether Buck's going to score, were they going to, if you were an Eagles ticket holder, and I wasn't, I did not bet the game in terms of a side, you were really sweating out, hoping that they would burn through those timeouts and then take a knee. And that is what happened. But for the Brady rushing prop, and yeah, Brady could have thrown multiple picks last night. There were a lot of opportunities for the Eagles to turn them over, and they did snag one. So props to Mr. Bloomfield in our chat for that. Lock it up.
Yep.
And really, honestly, at the end of the day, it was a game. I think a lot of it played out kind of how we saw. The Bucs are just the better team. But another point, and I think we're going to see this going forward. Jalen Hurts on the ground. This is a guy that clearly is going to be a red zone threat, as many quarterbacks are at this point.
So 2 quick things, one on the Hurts point, and then one other prop that I think is something we should be looking at to continue to bet each and every week. But Jalen Hurts, this is now 3 of 6 games this year that Jalen Hurts has the last touchdown. So I bet that earlier in the night because of the stat that I saw. It was 2 of 5 coming into last night. And look, the reason is because when they're down, we know that he's a threat on the ground. Things become a little soft. And when things break down in the red zone, he's really tough to stop if he gets that corner. So keep in mind, it was 9 plus 910, I think, last night with the closing odds on that before the game. But something along those lines. It's not just anytime touchdown, because probably books will catch up and you may not get plus 130 next time around for a Jalen Hurts anytime TD. It might be minus 110 or something along those lines. So I'm just looking at creative ways that we could take advantage of it. And yeah, it's a long shot bet, Ben, but 3 of 6, half of the games the Eagles have played, Jalen Hurts is responsible for the last touchdown.
I don't think, and I've bet a probably good amount of things in my time. I don't think I've ever bet a last touchdown, but you were on that last night. I saw the ticket, and it is true. It does seem, the only thing I'll take away from it, it seems like when the game devolves, and a friend of the show, Kristen Chat, was talking about the DraftKings side of things.
Yeah.
It really does seem that Jalen Hurts, when I watch the game, it's like, this guy's okay, not great. And then you look at his actual stat line, and he still gets it done numbers wise. And I think when the game really breaks down, his rushing ability becomes more and more prevalent. And we saw him run not 1, but 2 in last night, and then try to, get the 2-point conversion and all that. So I get it. I do think there is some angle there. And I mean, before people catch up, you want to bet those type of things.
Methyl ethyl. Look at this.
Yeah, that's
Hurts, bad. 29 yards. This was the ticket, 29.5. With Howard touchdown, we saw Quez over 39.5 receiving yards, which is a hit. Sanders over 29.5 rushing yards. That was plus 1,600 on a half a yard, Ben.
Yeah, been there. There's really nothing to say. It never feels good. It never gets easier.
No.
Losing by the hook like that is that's just gross. But at the end of the day, the only thing you can take from that, you're obviously seeing the games clearly. You keep putting them together like that, you'll be cashing them soon enough, because a lot of that's good work in there. Really, really close to a nice payday.
Make sure you take full advantage of what we have going on here with BetMGM. Hit that link in our description below, and it's going to take you to BetMGM, where you're going to get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. And with that, signing up, you're going to get the $1,000 risk-free bet. You're also, as it's going to be registered, logged in with Awesemo and BetMGM, we're going to give you 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And all you need is that minimum $10 deposit. So you deposit minimum 10, you can go up to 1,000 risk-free, and you're going to get the 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Just hit that thumbs up button, and please make sure you're subscribed to the Awesemo Odds channel. All right, man, I don't know where you want to take this on the weekend. It is totally your call. If you want to start tonight, you want to start on Saturday. We have some news in the NFL. I don't think Zach Ertz is maybe not going to play, but probably not moving the line for you in that game. It's probably the other thing, though, where you have been on Cleveland all week. I know you got in at -2.5. You were bragging about that on the earlier show this week. Now Nick Chubb is out. We should probably start there, especially how bullish you've been on Cleveland all week.
I finally do something good. I jumped on this. I was adamant that you needed to jump on it. The line is moved to 3.5. I've done my job. And what do they give me? They take away my all-pro running back. But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't really care. I still like the Browns. I honestly don't think it's going to affect the spread that much. If it somehow buys back, and I don't think that it will, the game is still on the board. That kind of just shows you how much the books really care about this. Cleveland, anything 3 or better is the move for me. I'm making a stand. This is just a game that I've targeted, that I really like. The Cardinals are dealing with a little COVID situation as well. It's not ideal to not have Nick Chubb, but I think we've all realized Kareem Hunt has been unbelievable all year, and this Browns offense isn't defined solely by Nick Chubb. I do wish, because Arizona's rush defense is terrible, they're giving up over almost 5.5 yards per carry. That's basically dead last in the league. I think that Kareem Hunt and whoever they have behind him will still do enough to accomplish what I need to accomplish. So I'm not deterred by it, but of course, I really wish Nick Chubb was playing.
Let's look at this and they're not up yet. I can't imagine that they'll be. And it's probably going to be off the board for a little bit, right? I can't imagine that for the next couple of minutes that we're on here, they're going to magically pop up. But there are a bunch of different, from maybe bigger markets to maybe something a little bit smaller, more exotic, that we could take advantage of with Kareem Hunt. And I'm curious, without knowing what the specific number would be, I think there are a couple that are going to be pretty sharp. And there are going to be a couple of Kareem Hunt bets that are probably more maneuverable. Again, carries, right? Yards, those are probably going to be sharper because the expectation of workload clearly falls on him. Here's a guy who's had a touchdown in each of his last 3 games, including 2 where everybody scored, granted, against the Chargers. I wonder how sharp the anytime TD or multiple TD bet is for Kareem Hunt with the absence of Nick Chubb. Longest rush, which is not really specific. It's not mutually inclusive, if you will, to whether or not Nick Chubb plays. Maybe that is something where you can maneuver. Is there something that maybe pops in your head now that you're thinking won't be as sharp of a player prop that we could take advantage of with Kareem Hunt, while knowing that the entire world realizes that the top guy in Chubb is out?
So I think the biggest thing and the biggest positive is that you, like with Nick Chubb, I really like the spot for him, but realistically, what were the props that we could bet with him? Either rushing yards, and I would have leaned over, or will he score? You're not going to mess around with Nick Chubb's receptions. With Kareem Hunt, you can do receptions, receiving yards, rushing plus receiving yards, rushing yards, carries, touchdowns, all sorts of things, because he's a dual threat back. The other part that I think we have to remains to be seen, the guys behind Kareem Hunt are more like Kareem Hunt than Nick Chubb. They're more pass catching type backs. So maybe they say, okay, your passing work is going to be sent to Demetric Felton, to D'Ernest Johnson, and we're going to use you more in a, a ground and pound type situation. So I think that's the interesting thing. Someone's going to have to get the carries. Kareem Hunt should be busy one way or another. It's hard not to like him, and certainly a lot of injuries to monitor. And that's why player props leading up to Sunday are going to change drastically. A lot of Q tags out there.
It's amazing to see as we kind of deal through injury, and especially on this Friday, kind of await stuff to come down, and you're lucky to get it early like this to where we can somewhat adjust. Do you anticipate this line moving? I know it opened at 4.5. Somehow you got in 2 full points below that, which is masterful, my friend. But do you anticipate this? You mentioned anything 3 or under, you like Cleveland. It's at 3.5 right now, or 3.5 here in PA at least. I don't know if you're going to go through that key number now without Chubb. But again, it's like, who's not betting? If you don't have that Rasa level confidence in Cleveland on top of the news that Chubb's out, wouldn't you anticipate that just a regular public bet is, oh no, Arizona's going to come in and kill him right now?
I mean, I obviously Chubb getting ruled out, I don't think is a big deal, but it's got to help Arizona more than Cleveland. So I think if you haven't bet Cleveland, take a breath. Nothing's going to go wrong in the next 12 hours or so. It's either going to move towards 3 and trend towards 2.5, or it'll stick. There's no reason that this would indicate that it's going to move to 4. That would be wildly unforeseen unless Arizona's missing key players that we don't know about. I got it in at the right time. Sometimes you time things right. I was able to get 2.5. I was able to get minus 140 on the money line. Cleveland's up to about 175 at most places. So again, that's a product of just knowing. I knew I was going to bet this. So when I saw the number, I figured, what am I waiting for? And now a lot of injuries have risen up. I do want to see the rest of the personnel, but I still feel very comfortable with Cleveland. I think that just at home in this spot, they're going to cause a lot of problems for Arizona, and they'll do enough offensively to get the job done.
Earlier in the week, I got the Chargers at +4. I had to lay a little more. It was a minus 118 scenario, and I understood that it was going to be difficult, but I really like that value now down to 2.5. I think this is I think this is an outright victory. I honestly, the way in which the Chargers won that game versus the way in which the Ravens won that game that we just saw respectively the previous week, needing a historic fourth quarter that they had from Lamar Jackson, playing against a Colts team that is their record, as good as Carson Wentz looks for that bad of a football team at times. Let down, I don't even know if that's the right way to put it, so much as like they got bailed out and maybe skated through, and dare I even say got lucky. So to your Browns, that's my Browns bet this week. Is I'm just really confident that this is the start of something for the Chargers, and it's just still a field your way out of who you are. It's a rich man's version of the Eagles offense. We kind of have an idea who they are, but they don't know who they are.
I like the Chargers in life. I respect the coach. Certainly, I'm a Justin Herbert guy. It's a it's a tough game. Baltimore at times has shown flashes of being really good, and also a team that really could have a lot of losses on the ledger. You certainly got a good number there. It's dipped below 3. It's not a game that's going to be on my personal card. I think there's just better spots out there. I think the value has been sucked out, but two teams that I said this last week, Chargers, Browns, I think there's a real chance they meet again. Chargers, Ravens, very real chance. This is the first of 2 matchups this year. These teams seem playoff bound, and they absolutely could link up later in the year.
Amazing to see the possibility of that, and seeing how that would play out here. Like 2.5, as Tyler has it there. That line has dipped significantly, but yeah, you're right. Just kind of looking at it in the future. A couple of people asking here. I know we've got a couple of lock it ups. Make sure you let us know what your most confident bet is out there. I see Shelton and some others hovering here with a couple of bets. We will get to that Q's. I see now 2 people referencing that Syracuse game.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, I think we have to talk, and a bunch of college for sure, because it's Friday. But is there a total? There's one total that I'm looking at, that I'm staring at, that I really like going over. Is there any total that has jumped out at you this Sunday, Ben?
Total, nothing that's really jumped. I think that the New England game is interesting against Dallas. 50.5, I would go under. I think New England will control the tempo. I respect Dallas's offense. They've been very good. This spread, though, I think a lot of people, if you just asked them on paper, oh, Dallas is a super team, 7-10 point favorite. It's 3.5 right now, and the Patriots are taking money. So this is a back and forth game. I think Patriots will try to attack with Harris on the ground, or whoever's running the ball down there, whoever's healthy in the backfield. Slow the tempo down. I can see the game staying in the low 20s, but I also, and I want to hear about your total, but we can't move on until I get a little London action, because I like the ugliest game on the slate as well.
Absolutely. And it looks like Tua's playing. So no. Trust me. That was on my brain to touch on London. It's dropped 2 points. I like going over before the dip. I didn't play it because I was curious to see what would happen. And usually when you have a total at 56.5, it takes a lot of money to move it up even more so. It's dipped now to 54.5. And I got to be honest, I liked going over 56.5. I love going over 54.5 in this Chiefs-Washington game. The Chiefs are an auto over bet until proven otherwise. I was just saying this on another show earlier today, Ben. I love Spags. You talk about like real life love. Nothing but love for that dude. He's one of the best human beings you'll ever come into contact with. That defense is cooked. Absolutely cooked. And Washington, we've seen, can get up and down the field. They don't have to be dominant in order to put up some points. So at 54.5, I'm not even looking at the first half, anything crazy or exotic. I'm just going straight total here. And you may even hear me bring this back at the end of the show, but I really, really, really like over 54.5 in this game.
I mean, there's not much to point to. The Chiefs defense can't stop anybody, and they seem content saying, you know what, our offense is so good that we don't really care. We'll just try to outscore you. And it seems like week after week, regardless of the situation, whether they're the superior team against like a team like the Eagles, they still get into a back and forth. Or in my opinion, I think the Bills right now are the better team. They still get in a back and forth. And obviously the Bills punched first and punched last, but with Mahomes and all these weapons, it just seems inevitable that they're going to put up points. And then you've got a guy in Taylor Heinicke that he's more than willing to take chances. I do think that McLaurin, if he's able to go, would help. He's a burner and he can really stretch that defense. Even if he's not, though, it's not like Washington doesn't have the ability to move the ball with some of these other players. But I do think you want to keep an eye on McLaurin. That could have impacted why this total dropped a little bit.
We're going to come back to this game, but from a player prop standpoint. But yeah, if McLaurin is out there, and I'm asking you real quick before we hit London, do you think that if he goes, it's going to be a flat number? Or do you think that his player prop for receptions, things along, even receiving yards, is going to be adjusted because he's playing through injury?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of these, it's really tough to talk player props today in the sense that A, the books are probably pulling most off the board, and B, we just don't know how healthy some of these guys are. So a guy like McLaurin, in theory, he's got an absolutely fantastic matchup. We saw
Beautiful.
Dawson Knox and company running wild, wide open. And McLaurin has shown he can get the best of real top end corners, never mind what the Chiefs secondary is going to throw at him. So I like it, but there is the element that he could be severely limited. And I know he'll probably try to play. From a player prop standpoint, that can be a detriment because if you step on the field, you are now, that bet's going to count no matter how hurt you are, regardless.
Wow, Jordan infiltrating the chat.
Look at this guy.
Hitting Greg SJ1 up for a lock it up. Not us, this is a man who knows us, who works with us, and is bypassing us. He didn't even hit Tyler up for an A&M play. Instead, he goes right to Greg SJ for a lock it up.
I mean, Jordan messaged me this morning thanking me for South Alabama, and now it's business as usual. He keeps it moving, and that's why we love him. What QB rushing prop is the team playing? I don't know. There's not a ton out there. We can't get anything on Daniel Jones. Maybe we'll look to Trevor Lawrence because he is someone that more and more is starting to assert his will on the ground.
I'm going to try and find the opposite, which is and this is your theory here, trying to find somebody who's not running that has a lower prop. But let's talk London first. And again, hit that thumbs up button, please. If you haven't already, we appreciate you here on the Awesemo Odds channel. Subscribe. As Ben keeps telling you, we have a ton of content betting you each and every Wednesday with Ben and Matt, wherever you get your podcasts, a ton of VODs coming up just to hit you on, if it's daily, if it's what's happening in the week, ton of betting content that we have here on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed to everything that we have. Look, you know where I'm going to go. I'm not going to bury the lead. I treat London, and I had the live bet out of this pre-flop, but this was the game total, and all the live bets hit under. It was just the pre-flop that didn't. I didn't touch the first half last London game, but I'm just going to give it to you short and sweet. I treat these London games like I treat Thursday night. Yes, we got burned on this one Thursday night. That's fine. I'll take the hit, but my theory doesn't change about first half unders. Same scenario here. Dolphins, Jaguars, Tua coming off of injury. We anticipate that he's going to play. You mentioned Trevor Lawrence in this offense. It's still the Jaguars. It's still Urban Meyer, all this other nonsense. I don't think either team comes out and puts up a ton of points. 23, I'm more than happy going under 23 first half in London.
I mean, yeah, you got two bad teams. There's no doubt about that. I'm more drawn to a side than a total in this game. I like the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars have a very real shot to win the game. I don't think they should be plus 140. That's for sure. Give me the 3.5. It's down to 3 in some spots. I think they're going to continue to take money. It sounds crazy because you look at this team, they're a mess, but are they really more of a mess than Miami right now? I think you can make an argument that Trevor Lawrence is the best QB in the game. Tua, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's an improvement or a downgrade over Jacoby Brissett at this point. There's just so many unknowns. They're not a really good team by any stretch of the imagination. They've got guys hurt on the outside. Say what you want about Jacksonville. The elements are there. You've got Trevor Lawrence, you've got Robinson, you've got Shenault, you've got Marvin Jones. That's a core offense that should be able to move the ball. Now, have they gone away from guys seemingly for no reason? Yes. Do I think that they're an elite team? Obviously not. But Miami's shown virtually nothing. And in a spot like this, it does feel like it's kind of a product of, if Jacksonville kind of knows they don't get this one, they might not get one for quite a long time. I think that this is a toss-up type game. If you're going to give me either plus 140 or 3 very important points, I'm going to go with the Jags. I don't see any reason why Miami should be favorite.
I love that, by the way. And that's
also,
a 3-point. Sorry.
I have to say this because I heard this the other day and I've never heard of such a thing. And the reason is because it's never happened before. Jacksonville has not kicked a field goal this year. They have no field goals.
How is that? Like,
how is that
expect
possible?
That from the Presbyterian coach.
That's just
not from Urban Meyer.
No, that's just an anomaly of epic proportions. I don't really understand it.
Right.
Like it doesn't mean anything. It's not actionable. I just had to mention that. What a bizarre situation.
That's crazy, man. This whole team is full of bizarre situations.
Yes.
See, it's a good hit, good plus money on the money line there. So I think you make sense, especially if there was a team to take advantage of that's vulnerable right now, it would be Miami, especially on a neutral field, especially overseas like we see. It's just tough. And you can take advantage of that. Absolutely. Look, it made Atlanta look revived, like with new life. So, I think there's something to that by all means. All right, let's hit some player props up. We'll touch on some college action here. You've got the jackpot, the lock it up before we get out of here. I may sneak in a no shot parlay if you're okay with that too.
It's Friday. If chat's okay with it, I'm okay with it. We'll
There
let
you
it slide.
All right, where to begin, my friend, on this busy Sunday slate with some player props?
Yeah. So again, there's a lot of situations. Unfortunately, it's just a product of it getting later in the year. There's Q tags all over the place. So you have to keep that in mind. We just don't have the ability to go to some of these. So I'm going to talk a little more generally. Like Kareem Hunt, I'm sure I'm going to like his player props, but I don't have numbers, and the numbers determine everything. And when you see that, it makes it a little difficult. So keep an eye on Kareem Hunt. I'm going to go to one guy who is healthy, and we know I'm just going to play this until it loses. Jamar Chase, he's unstoppable right now, and Detroit is dead last in the league in passing yards allowed per attempt. The game is inside. Jamar Chase, every game finds one. He finds one over the top, and we've started the books are adjusting. His longest reception is at 26.5. I think it's still worth it because he's just so extreme in these passes. He's getting 2 or 3 or 4 chances each and every game over the top. And I look at a Detroit team that I think will be competitive in the game. Jamar Chase is clearly the alpha on this team now. He's asserted himself. I'm going to look to him over whether it's the 74.5 passing yards or receiving yards, I should say, or his longest reception. It's been working every single week. And until something changes in this offense, I don't know why we would change.
It's a great point. And especially until, right, it's something that you're riding until proven otherwise, and kind of how I felt with the Chiefs and their defense and the overplay, except you have here now pathways to it. You're going longest reception over receiving yards?
I think so. I don't mind either, but I just look at Jamar Chase. It's seemingly every game that Burrow's giving him a couple chances to win downfield. He can get there on pure volume. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, it's just a guy that it's hard to imagine that he doesn't have a couple of big time plays in each and every game. And so I just like it. Again, there's a macro element. There's nothing besides a really good matchup that draws me to it. But when you've been cashing the same thing over and over and over, it's hard to say, okay, I'm just going to stop right now. I know the books are adjusting, but I don't think fast enough.
Let me throw one out. And I think it's not plus 290 or whatever, 190. I think it would turn to 200 at one point, that Aaron Rodgers interception prop. But Colts come off a brutal loss where they watch Lamar Jackson do whatever they want. They lose in overtime, the missed kicks. It just was awful. And Carson Wentz played pretty well for all things anticipated and expected. He's going up against a Houston team where this line is ridiculous in division. I understand Houston with Davis Mills is not anything that should instill confidence, but it's still that defense, which is okay. And it's still Carson Wentz, who, granted, has only thrown that pick, is prone to making mistakes. Over a half a pick at plus money for Carson Wentz against this defense, I'm willing to roll the dice on that. I'm willing to roll. We saw it last night with Brady, a couple of bad throws. It only takes one. And again, we're not talking about Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Pat Mahomes needing a mistake. We're talking about Carson Wentz, where, again, he's not an interception machine. I'm not trying to say that, but to go over a half of interception for Carson Wentz at plus money, I like that player prop a lot against Houston.
I know a lot of people that were on that in the last game, and Wentz was good. He was really good, actually. He kept it conservative. This is going to be a product of how long can Houston stay in the game. I think if you get a passing attempts by Carson Wentz in the fourth quarter, you've kind of done your job and you'll live with the outcome. If they're up 20 points and they're, Carson Wentz is geared down, he's not going to throw. It would be pretty unlikely to throw a late interception. You're going to have to get there probably in the first half. So I think that's the number one priority for me in a situation like this is game script wise. I'm not betting it, but I see where you're going there. You just need Houston to hopefully hang in the game and push his volume up.
All right, let's look at this because the chat asks, and who are we to ignore by all means? Let's think of who's the most, or give, like, let's look at a couple of immobile quarterbacks this week, and then we can slam some over rushing yards. How about that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you've got, and I do want to give a quick shout out to Dan in chat. He mentioned Darrell Henderson over 9.5 for his longest reception. Shortest one on the season is 13 yards. Going against the Giants, I think that's very sharp. That's just one I didn't look at. I have no problem with that. Gonna dig into that after show, but at first glance, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, is there any quarterbacks that stood out to you? I'm looking at guys like Goff. He's at 8.5, something like that at home. Competitive game. He doesn't like.
What about Herbert?
Herbert.
I'm looking right now.
What is it?
Herbert's rushing yards is 13.5. That's actually higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, he has no more than 4 attempts in any game, but he also has no less than 3. So he's been very solid volume. You know what you're getting. I think someone like Jared Goff to me has a much larger range of outcomes. He rushed the ball 0 times last week, but he also has a game against Green Bay where he had 46 yards. So it seems like he's willing at times to get out there. I'm not saying to go there, though. Honestly, I didn't see anyone from the quarterback room that stood out just yet. We got to see some of these guys who are in and out.
It's a short line. You already mentioned going under, right, in that Cowboys-Patriots game. I'm looking at both of these guys. How about Dak? Again, though, that's so high at 7.5 rushing yards for Dak. So I think the books have caught up to the point where these lines are just, nope, stayaways at this point. Unless you want to go back to the Derek Carr well at 5.5.
No. I'm not messing around with the Raiders at all here. Yeah, I mean, Dak is tough. I will say that at times, more and more, I think Dak is trending upward. At the beginning of the year, I was pretty adamant that Dak wasn't going to run unless he absolutely had to, coming off major injury to the leg. It seems like he's more comfortable out there. I watched that game against the Giants. He ran when he didn't have to a couple of times. Nothing major, but it is nice to see him look pretty comfortable. So I would lean over 7.5. But again, I think that this is a situation. We did some really good work the first 4 or 5 weeks. We found an edge. Now the books have realized we got to find a different edge. Maybe we pump the brakes a little on the QB rushing yards and see what we can do.
It's a good point. You know, you can get ahead of the line, you can get ahead of the books, but they always catch up, and you got to know 100%. When to pull the abort button.
Yeah, you don't want to waste all the good profits chasing something that no longer has value. So you look each week. If the books have caught up, you say, all right, good work. Let's find the next one. And that's what we're kind of doing here.
I see a couple of people from Michael on the chat, Greg SJ1, John Shelton, all have mentioned in some capacity this Cuse game tonight. I told you, Cuse has played 2 tough losses, 2 good teams, close, good compared to them. 13.5 for Clemson tonight seems like just too much on the board. Maybe this is a tease area for you to move points up for Syracuse at home. But something it seemed like, okay, 10.5, I understand. 13.5 seemed like a lot for Clemson.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of saying that. I don't know, something about this game that doesn't really pass the smell test. Low total as well. Cuse in the Dome, much better team. I do think they're going to play all right. I'm not sure what Clemson has left at this point. They are clearly, their season's over. So that's tough for a team who has national championship or bust aspirations. I mean, they've lost 2 games. Their offense is just broken right now, and they've got a lot of injuries. And they're in the LSU camp in some ways. All these guys, if they're, I think, 50-50, it's hard to think that they're going out there because what's the point in a lot of ways? Like if you're a top-end NFL draft pick and you're not making the playoff and you play for Clemson, what exactly is the point of playing against Syracuse right now? And I think that does hurt teams like this. So I get why everyone is drawn to Syracuse. I get it. I wish this was north of 14. It's not the best number out there, but in a low total game, Syracuse is good at home, pretty strong defensively. They've hung with some good teams. I think Wake Forest is a very good team, actually. it does feel like the line is a little inflated towards Clemson. So I'm with seemingly everyone in chat that it would be Syracuse or pass, but this is not my favorite game tonight.
Now, there's one game on the weekend, and I saw John Shelton mention that he sprinkled a little on Indiana's money line. No Penix, right? He's out. Their quarterback is out. It's only 4.5, so it's a really short line. I think Shelton got trapped. I think this is a trap to sucker you into Indiana. There's no way Michigan State doesn't cover 4.5 on the road.
As this could be the old, it's a double trap.
I'm trapped into thinking he got trapped, so therefore I'm trapped.
That's a weird game. I think we're going to find out. Indiana can't protect anyone. That's the problem. Penix is now hurt. Jack Tuttle's he's not this year a transfer, but a former Utah player. And Michigan State's pass rush is pretty strong. That's the problem. They also have the leading rusher in the country and Kenneth Walker. Yeah. Alpha's on the outside. Michigan State's a good team. I've said this a couple of times. Michigan State's going to lose several games this year, but I don't think one of them is going to be to Indiana personally. So it's always a little tricky when you're going on the road and you're laying points. We see that all the time. I don't have the guts to take Indiana. It would be Michigan State or pass for me.
All right, is there anything else on college before we go back to the jackpot? Last week's jackpot won.
Yeah, we hit the jackpot last week, by the way.
You didn't play it? I did it.
Oh, I played it. Of course I played it.
Oh, okay.
Right, I played it.
I'm just making sure here.
Yeah,
anything else? I know that the jackpot is college heavy. So outside of the two plays in your jackpot, is there anything else we should take a look at? I tell you, Oklahoma State is not a dog in that game against Texas. It's just that they're playing on the road. That might come back to that one.
So I'm going to give a quick shout out to Betting You, our college sports betting podcast. Yes. We film it every Wednesday, and a lot of the lines that me and Matt Kajeski broke down, they have moved, and majority are in our favor. That's why we do the show. Someone like Kentucky, we got it at an 8-10. I know you're on this number too. We have it at 23.5.
Huge.
It's down to 21.5. I still like it north of 3 touchdowns, but certainly I think you wanted to jump on that a little earlier in the week. So you've got them. And tomorrow, before these games kick off at noon, we will be doing live before lock, me and Matt. So you want to stay tuned there. That's an interesting one. You've got Mississippi, Tennessee. The over-under is 81.5. That is going to be a wild one. Can't wait to see it. Several other games, but I'm going to get into it. There is a game tonight. It's part of my jackpot. If you're good with college, you want to move and try to build a couple winners here.
Let's do it.
Okay. Tonight, there are 4 games. My favorite, I'm going to lay the points with Oregon. I really think that they're given 13.5. Get this inside 14. I don't know why Cal is even remotely competitive in this spot. Oregon's lost some key pieces, multiple backs. Thibodeau is suspended for the first half. He will come back in the second half. That was a horrible targeting call. I don't think it was targeting, but that's neither here nor there. Oregon off the bye. And I just look at this Cal team. They've done nothing at all. They're just not a good team. Simple as that. Oregon at home. And the other thing, Cal's best defensive player, linebacker, is out for the year. So I just think they're even more trouble. I'm going to take that 13.5. I'm going to parlay that with Wyoming money line tomorrow. Don't hate on the Fighting Josh Allen's. Laramie, baby. Highest elevation in the country. I know people are saying, what the hell is this guy talking about? It is really difficult to play in Wyoming. They're a 3.5-point dog at home to Fresno State. If you pair up Oregon tonight and Wyoming on the money line, you're getting basically 4-1 plus 385 on the money line. I think that is a game where I could see Wyoming definitely stealing one at home. Plus 150 here at BetMGM. I'm comfortable with that number. I'm going to try to keep the jackpot going, Eitan. We're going to just do a little 2-teamer here. Look at that. Plus 377. We get Oregon tonight. We get Wyoming tomorrow. Wyoming at home is a deadly cash cow. I back them all the time there. I will do it again tomorrow.
I'm in, man. I love it, especially because you have the money line play in there, right? And you're not worried about the points, and you're getting it at plus 155. No, that is an amazing. Lock it up. Lock the jackpot up.
Look at this. This is why I love this chat. We got wind report. It's going to be windy in Laramie. Good. That's even better for me. Yeah. They can play. Wyoming is a defensive team. Fresno State throws the ball all over the place. That hurts them a lot more than Wyoming, who wants to run the ball.
No, I love the fact that the weather is so volatile out there in Laramie, because it would stand to reason that the team who plays there more often than not would be able to adjust, as opposed to, in this case, Fresno coming in on that. All right. I'm going to come back to something that we spoke about earlier. Of all the things that we've talked about, I'm going to lock up the over 54.5 in the Washington Kansas City game, even without Terry McLaurin. I'm going to go ahead and I think some of that is concerned that he's not going to play. I don't think that we need him in order for that total to go up. If I could slide in a 1A, it would be under first half in London, but I like the over in the Washington KC game more so than that one. So that's how I'm going to lock this whole weekend up heading into that. This parlay that I have is going to take too long. I'll just send you the screen cap on the Slack.
Fair enough. No, I like that over 54.5. The game can get moving. You tell me you like an over against Kansas City right now. I'm not going to push back much. Simple as that.
All right, now you need to lock it up before we get out of here.
You know what? I'm gonna go to tonight. I think that we're gonna get the first leg done here. Oregon at home off the bye. They're playing what I think, besides Arizona, who's horrendously bad. I think Cal's upwards of the second worst team in the Pac-12. They're just not in this stratosphere. So I know they're nursing some injuries. You're going to see an Oregon team tonight simply just run it down their throat. Simple as that. 13.5. Game gets out of hand. Let's start the week off. We had South Alabama last night. Let's get it done with Oregon tonight. Hopefully Cuse covers for everyone as well. And then we will roll into Saturday with some real momentum.
You know, I saw this real quick on the way out. Brandon Smith asking about the ASU over Utah game. And you referenced it in the chat as well. Utah is dealing with unimaginable tragedy, players who have lost their life off the field, you know, in a shooting, and then also dealing with a funeral. They did bounce back in resounding fashion. It's just, I know we talk about volatility and we talk about variables and how difficult things are to kind of predict. I don't know what to expect from Utah, to the point where I would just stay. I know it's down to a pick 'em. I would just stay away from that personally. I don't know if you have a side on that.
Yeah, I mean, my side would be Arizona State at first glance, but there's something with this Utah team that I'm struggling with. I thought USC would beat them last week, and Utah took them to the woodshed. Arizona State's a pretty good team. I like Jaden Daniels. I like what they do offensively. There's something about Utah right now. You know, they got the Baylor transfer at quarterback. He leaves the program. I think they might have got better now. So I get it. I don't think it's, just stay away automatically, but I wouldn't go to Hammertown. That's for sure. It may be on the card, but probably towards the bottom.
All right, my friend, you and Pete are back here on this channel Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, as you'll have a London game to talk about live, which is nice and cool. And we're back Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern. We appreciate everybody hanging with us. Hit that thumbs up button. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Ben constantly reminded you about all of the great content that we're providing for you here on this channel.
Absolutely. Awesome. Good stuff. I just want to say, hoops Tuesday, a little basketball coming to Awesemo Odds as well. We will have plenty of content there. If you guys have any questions, hit us up, but good luck. Let's cash some tickets this week. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, BetMGM. We'll see you. Have a great weekend.
You see me playing a little hoops on the stream? Look at that. Peeper bucket.